Terrarian in the Dungeon, Chapter 38, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. A bit of a history lesson for the surroundings of Orario. Way back before the gods put the cap on the dungeon that was the Tower of Babel. The surface world was a hellhole with monsters constantly pouring out of the gaping maw into the earth that was the dungeon. It was only when the gods capped the dungeon after some gods went into to explore it, and even with their Arcanum fully being used, those gods died and never returned to Tenkai, and to this day have never reformed and are the only gods to have truly died. But with the dungeon being capped, the mortal races, along with the spirits and newly arrived gods who blessed the mortals with the fauna system over the course of centuries, eventually cleared out the area surrounding Orario of monsters. But in doing so they left hundreds of fortresses in the area surrounding Orario, which are now used nowadays to host war games if the chosen game requires such a location. Now, such a site was going to host several boss monsters. Do you think you will be able to summon like 30 bosses at once? That would be so cool, haha. Tiona laughed as she found me and Belle just hanging out awkwardly as everyone set up their stuff. For a moment, I considered the logistics of fighting so many monsters Rexes. And then I recalled that with Fargo's the mod I was going to get next, I would literally be able to do so. I can. Just I don't think it's a good idea, Tiona. I said wryly, and then Ace walked over to us, and following the blonde beauty was the lesbian elf herself. Lafia. Finn told me you had new monsters. Are they strong yet? Ace bluntly asked, and I nodded slightly. Well, they will certainly be stronger than the others, but also larger and much more dangerous, I said dryly. But Ace only nodded subtly, smiling like the battle maniac she was. Will these boss monsters help even level 3s like me level up or just get high amounts of Excelia? Lafia asked, and I just nodded for the umpteenth time before I pulled out a new sparking wand. Here, Lafia, I got you a gift. Go play with the magic stick. I said nicely, and as she took it reflexively and her mind connected with the staff and shot out a couple of sparks, she seemed to somehow miss how I was trying to get rid of her. Jake, Lady Riveria already gave me the wand of sparking you sold her. Apparently, it made her really mad because she couldn't figure out how you preset magic within the staff like a Krotso sword but without the whole breaking bit. Lafia awkwardly explained to me, but then her eyes found Belle, who was standing beside me. Sorry, my name is Lafia Virutus of the Loki Familia, it's nice to meet you. She said, bowing to Belle rather than offering to shake her hand or anything, as elves were mostly racist against other races and literally didn't want to touch them. Hello, Miss Virutus. Is that why Riveria didn't want to talk to us this morning? Belle asked, reminding me of how short and brusque Riveria was at the start of the caravan. While Lafia and Belle were gossiping about Riveria, Ace sidled up next to me as she spoke. Could I commission a thinner or less heavy sword? This broadsword is too unwieldy. She asked, tapping the tungsten broadsword she still was wearing at her side. I hummed in thought as I ran through the sword recipes in my head and realized a true melee sword would probably be for the best for her, as she already had her wind magic to give her more range and such. But then I recalled another sword that would fit her perfectly from the Calamity mod. The wind blade made out of aerolite bars and some sunspot blocks would send tornadoes of sharp wind blades to suck up foes and tear them apart, with each swing sending a small tornado. Yeah. I got an idea of how to make your sword. And it will actually make your wind magic quite a bit stronger as well. I spoke aloud as I thought about how I could kill the Perforator and Hive Mind Calamity bosses that were harder versions of the previous Crimson and Corruption bosses in the Brain of Cthulhu and the Eater of Worlds. Ace literally gently grabbed my face as I stared off into the distance. I tried with no success, think of a way to kill those much stronger bosses. My eyes were all but forced to meet Ace's hard blue ones as she spoke softly. You are thinking too much. What do you need to make that sword, because I need it. Ace didn't wrench my face around or anything, but her gloved hands grabbing me out of my thoughts was a weird as hell thing to do. But then again, so long as Ace was the one doing the motions, she had zero compunctions in throwing social cues out the door. Miss Ace, there is no need to grab Jake's face. Lafia yelled, building up steam. But her building up tirade had its steam released as Ace just tilted her head to the side and replied dully. I wanted an answer and Jake was too deep in thought. I didn't want him to forget my question. More than one person facepalmed at Ace's answer, with myself just chuckling as I shook my head. Yeah, sorry, Ace, I can't make the sword till I level up or something. The bosses we would need to kill are too dangerous for me at this time. I said frankly, but Ace wasn't having it. But you can hide. You can zip across a battlefield or even teleport while stronger people fight them. What is the actual issue? She asked, pressing me with her usual lack of social tact, making Tiona cringe as my face twitched with some irritation. Ace, let's let Jake go spawn a monster REXS for the newbies, they are looking antsy ha. Tiona laughed forcefully as she literally just threw Ace over her shoulder as she ran away with the blonde beauty who held an arm out to me begging for salvation as the Amazon ran off with her. Alright, Lafia, if you end up fighting, just be careful. I huffed as Belle quickly followed me as Power walked away from the situation and towards the area that was designated for me to spawn the monsters. As I got there, I saw Finn speaking with the blonde elf member of Freya's Familia Hayden about something. There you are, Jake, are you ready? Finn asked me, as the Freya executive shot me an imperceptible look. I didn't understand while I told Finn I was ready. Alright, wonderful. We have taken some measures to give you some room to grapple hook away from the boss, and more importantly when you do we want you to try to get fully away from the boss and see if it will instead focus on the other people in the vicinity so they can get the authentic boss experience, Finn explained, and I hummed and thought. I mean, I will try, but this trick will probably only work on the King Slime and Desert Scourge boss. The next ones are just too damn big and have different senses than the last more normal bosses. Well, as normal as a semi-truck-sized slime could be anyway. Anyway, the Apollo Familia has paid a great price to fight the Desert Scrooge in particular, as the first boss to be summoned here for all of Orario to watch remotely in the same style as a war game. Congratulations, Jake, you have 10 million Valas sitting and waiting for you back in Orario. Finn said, shrugging, as from the opposite of the field came a crowd of Apollo's lower-level adventurers. His captain isn't going to take part? I asked dryly, seeing the level 1 and small squad of level 2 standing together, waiting for me to summon the boss. No. Apparently, he didn't deem it worthy of his time and that it was best for his weaker Familia members to fight the boss monster and earn a level up. Finn replied coldly, and I looked over to Daphne Loris, Cassandra Lyon, hoping they would survive this experience. Especially Cassandra, as she was a true seer, even if her predictions were always disbelieved for some contrived reason around her. Pity for them then, I muttered, sighing, but saving idiots from committing suicide wasn't my responsibility. To be an adventurer here in Danmachi was to walk with death, and just because a group of level 5s and above could slap these weak bosses around shouldn't give these fools such bravery. They needed a reminder of their place, in other words. With Finn giving the go-ahead as the systems were in place in Orario to watch the coming battles, I walked out alone into the middle of the field that was surrounded by woods that I was going to go hide within as soon as I summoned the boss. As I got closer to Apollo's group, I saw Cassandra was a shaking mess and almost in tears, making me sigh as I realized she may have seen herself and the people around her dying. Well, let's see if I can save another heroine or two. I thought wryly as I pulled out the desert medallion to summon the Desert Scrooge.